Welcome to the Girl Crush podcast with me, Donna Pesci. I created this podcast to encourage, inspire, and empower women to dream big and live with purpose, passion, and joy. I'm fortunate enough to have interesting, authentic, and sometimes really funny conversations with amazing women who are just crushing it at life. You'll meet entrepreneurs, CEOs, healers, creators, artists, mystics, and moms. We'll talk about everything from the decisions that shape our lives to the moments that make us laugh out loud. We'll chat, we'll examine, we'll even gossip a little. I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Today we are talking to Rosie Mattio. Rosie is the founder and CEO of Mattio Communications, the largest cannabis-focused marketing and PR firm in North America, with offices in New York, LA, and Toronto. Rosie launched Mattio as a one-woman PR firm in 2004, and since then she's been redefining conversations around the industry by garnering global media coverage for her clients, including the first cannabis article ever published in Oprah magazine. Mattio was named one of the 5 fastest growing companies in the Northeast by Inc. magazine and one of the most effective PR firms by Green Market Report. Rosie is one of the top women in PR, according to PR News, and one of the 50 most influential women by High Times magazine. Her writing has been featured in publications like Rolling Stone, and she is one of Forbes' top 10 female entrepreneurs. Rosie also has her own podcast called Pot to Popular, which you should definitely check out, even if you're not in the cannabis industry, because I listened to a few episodes and really enjoyed it. And she's the mother of 4 beautiful daughters and a fitness enthusiast who shares her workout advice and runs marathons and wins bodybuilding competitions in her spare time. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Rosie. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I sound much more impressive than I feel, but I'm excited to chat with you today and have a good conversation. So thanks for having me.
Well, I've been impressed with you for a really long time, and I'm sure most of the podcasts that you do are focused mainly around cannabis, but I have to tell you that when I had this idea to do a podcast on self-discipline, you were not like the top of the list, you were like the list. Like, I wanted to talk to you specifically and only about this topic. And I think it's because you and I met like what, 20 years ago, like 2003,
Don't you
2004.
feel too young to say things like that?
I
I'm like,
hate
I don't know
saying
anybody that long.
I hate saying that. And a lot of times I don't know why, but when I think of like 2004, 2005, I think it's 10 years ago, but it's not. It's literally like 20 years ago. So
It is.
I hate it. But anyway, but I remember like you were doing, I was working for an experiential company and you were doing something for them on the other side, on the PR side. And we met and then we didn't see each other for a really long time. And I remember kind of rediscovering each other on social media. And I remember seeing like you had your daughters and you were like growing your family and you had your company. And I remember being like, Rosie was such a cool girl. I'm like so happy for her. Like, this is, really cool. And then as I was following you, I'm like, oh, okay. You're like, now you're featured on magazines and you're writing in Rolling Stone and you're like doing all these things. And I'm like, okay, this isn't like a cute little company that Rosie has. Like, this is like no fucking joke. So I've been super inspired. I know, I'm like such a fangirl of yours, but,
And I'm of yours. So
I also, follow your fitness, your training, and, the things that you're putting out there. And you've actually really inspired me to start prioritizing strength training. And it was, you definitely were, integral in that. And so anyway, I'm super fangirl and I'm, so excited that you're here. So
I'm excited here. And I'm excited to launching a podcast is like no easy feat. It really isn't. If do having one of my own, like I'm still uncomfortable with it. I know this is like so early days for you, but I'm pretty impressed by the intros. Let's go. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. It is. I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited to have you. So let's just get right into it. I want to talk about self-discipline as it relates to your your professional life. So I know like back when you started your company, you didn't have cannabis clients. You were doing other things. And I know, you kind of took that shift and, grew the company from a one person company to the powerhouse that it is now. So talk to me a little bit about how that came to be. I know it's a long story, but like talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and really this sort of I didn't set out to do this at all, right? When I met you, I just was newly engaged, newly married, um, had a career, like not even a career. I just had a job. I was a consultant, and I thought I would
Mhm.
just continue to do that. My husband had a job. I knew I wanted to be a mother, but I always like wanted to keep my finger on the pulse of of working. I needed to have a paycheck and all those things, but never thought I'd have my own agency. So a lot of this really sort of fell into my lap. So I maintained consulting clients. I worked in specialty food and restaurants when I met you. And then got married, had babies, was really doing the stay-at-home mom thing. And stopped working really for I think 2, 3 years when I was having kids. They're very close together. And then my husband's had a startup and he asked me to be his publicist because he needed some help. And I was sort of excited to get back into the working field after being out of it for a while. I realized I had missed it. And around that time, we moved out to Seattle, Washington for his job, which had just gone adult use cannabis. And I was approached to do a project for a cannabis company, not because I had cannabis background, because in 2013, nobody had cannabis background is still a new industry. It was a cookbook. It was a cannabis cookbook because I had food background. They hired me to do it. Um, and it was an exciting project. I'd always been pretty good at what I had done, but had Fast Company, Mashable, Rolling Stone, New York Times begged me to for an exclusive of the story. Like I was never that good. So when that happened, it was like a little light bulb went off in my head, and I said, "Hey, I used to be pretty good at my job. This is really exciting. Let me try something new." And that was it. It was just an idea. I had one client, and then I'm a firm believer, and this comes at some point. I'll talk about the discipline of it. Is like success begets success, right? Like when you feel confident, when you like have something exciting about you, you want to do more of it, right? So I'm like, well, it's this idea of like wash, rinse, repeat. So I had this one cannabis client that was super fun. And it was giving me a lot of energy, a lot of inspiration. Like, what would happen if I had another one? So I just started going out there and meeting people and going to conferences and going to meetups and started picking up clients. So when I started seeing this process of trying to pitch these kinds mainstream media opportunities, which was not existed in cannabis at the time, I started getting like a little thrill, a little chill up my spine that I was doing something cool and different. So I'm like, well, why don't I try that again and try that again and try that again? And the process was working. And next thing I knew, it was 2018. I was still a solo practitioner, but I had 9 clients by myself. People were starting to notice the work that I was doing. Um, and it was just, this concept of delivering on what I was saying I was gonna do and just, like, keep building, 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 and it became like a muscle. Um, and that's really how it became, and then I started trying to institutionalize it, right? At some point, I knew I had to scale, I didn't know how to do that. I was a one-woman show, and I was a little overwhelmed. I had 4 children at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and so I didn't know what to do next. So I needed to just sort of figure it out. And around that time, someone I'd worked for in the past, who was a serial entrepreneur, knew what I was doing, and asked me, like, what are you going to do with this, little side hustle business you had? And I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know how to build a business. I mean, he joined me to help me turn this into an agency. And now, or 9 years later, after taking that first cannabis client, because of all these systems that he helped me put in place. We're now the largest agency in the country. We represent close to 60 cannabis companies, and I've got a team of 50 people. So it's just been just building, 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 and just next logical step. That's really how it became.
Wow, it's amazing. It's a great story, and I really felt like you kind of built something where there really wasn't anything, right? Like at that time, I mean, there weren't a lot of people really talking about cannabis, right? I mean,
There first of all, there were very few PR firms doing it, that's for sure, like firms.
mhm.
There were a couple, independent contractors like me, maybe 1 or 2 firms, and they were just focused on cannabis, on trades, right? And I just thought I could bring a new approach, which was I didn't have any cannabis contacts at that point. I had food editor contacts. So
Mhm.
I felt I could just do something a little different, and there was a white space and I just seized it.
Yeah, totally. That's great. I also want to talk about, so now that you have 50 employees, you said?
Yeah,
At 50? Okay. So
50.
you have 50 employees. And I feel like I want to talk a little bit about creativity and organization because I know that PR is such a creative industry. I mean, you have to constantly be coming up with, new ideas and new pitches and new ways to talk about your client. And sometimes creativity and organization don't live in the same place.
They do
And
not.
I feel like you can't be like on demand, like creative on demand. But I feel like when you get to a place where you are, you kind of have to be. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong in that. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I always find it interesting to understand how people handle that. Because I know when I'm trying to be creative, is I can't be. It's
You
it's
cut out
always when
again.
I am not thinking about it or when I'm not trying that I feel like I'm the most creative. And I feel like with a company as large as yours and clients, that are expecting things from you all the time, how do you do that for both for you and for how do you expect, that of your employees?
Yeah, so organization, creativity, I don't think they go hands in hands, and this was like part of people I think assume that I'm super organized because I am so disciplined and I get so much done during the day. So I think about this a lot because when I'm focused on something, like there's nothing that's going to stop me. It's going to get done, but I'm not an organized person. So I am more the creative that and so how do you solve for that problem, right? And that was something that bringing on a business partner helped me do. Like I have a lot of deficiencies, but I surround myself with extremely organized people. So they allow me to do what I do best. And like that's like one of my big, piece of advice to entrepreneurs, like surround yourself with people who have a completely different skill set from you. And that really sets you up for success. Because if I'm worried about doing, a status report, there's no way I can actually think about big picture
Right.
problems. So having surrounding yourself with people to keep you organized or help you set up systems has been really helpful to me. So like my assistant, my executive assistant is the most organized person, and she knows how to get into my head and like pull everything out. So because being a manager and not being organized and just having things like it's all up here, like it's a terrible way to manage 50 people, right? But like there's a lot of there's a lot of like creativity and like genius that goes on in like those type of minds. But if you're not able to translate that, you're not going to be successful. So a key for me has been surrounding any person I hire. And even when I ask the question, like, how are they going to answer differently? Like, do you consider yourself a highly organized person? Like, that's the first question I ask, because if you can't be organized and, you know, decipher my madness, like we're not going to be able to work together. So I frustrate everybody. But that's how it works here.
Yeah, it's crazy that you don't think of yourself as an organized person because I feel like you do so much and you get so much done and it's crazy to me to think that you don't think of yourself in that way, that you don't think of yourself as organized.
But organized and discipline are different. So that's a difference. So like there are things that like are I have non-negotiables. Like that's for sure. Like I respond to every email. Like I've never not responded to an email like within a half an hour. Like it's just like I have rules that I follow, right? So I don't know if that's organized, but I definitely have, you know, like I definitely have things that I do every day. Like I have systems in place. Like I always provide an email. I'm a zero inbox, zero email, zero text, zero voicemail person. So those things like set me up for success. And that does set me apart from other people. You might be organized, but you're not good with time management. Like that's, I'm very good with time management. So like there's a little idiosyncrasies, I would say, with that. Or if like I say I'm going to do something, like I, I've never not completed a project. So like everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, you know, sometimes do I have to like, can I do a spreadsheet? Do I block it off like that? No, but like I said, there are just things that like I have non-negotiables and I complete tasks. So people think that's organization, but that it goes back to discipline. It's not the same as organization. It's just like doing what you say you were going to do. And like that's like a core principle here. And that's how I manage the agency. I'm like, I don't care how it gets done because how I get things done is not how anybody else will get it done. I just need to make sure it gets done. And like that's my rule. Get it done and make sure it's done, to perfection. But like what your system is, like it doesn't matter to me as long as it gets done and it's perfect.
Got it. That makes sense. So, in terms of discipline, is this something that you feel like you were kind of born with? Did you always have it, or did you have to learn it? Is it something that you have to like practice every day?
It's definitely something I learned. I think
Okay.
it's a maturity thing. I think I've evolved a lot later in life. Like I was never a good student, and all that. But I think, and I hate to give him credit, but I should because he's amazing. My husband is highly organized. Okay. And he sort of like demands among the family, and I learned from him, right? Like to be disciplined, or to be, or to he's helped me grow up as a person, right? And now it's taken on a life of its own where I can't imagine not being as disciplined as I am. I think actually, as a disorganized person, now that I think about it, like having discipline, like counteracts some of that, right? Like I might like be all over the place, but if I have like, I'm always going to do my workout, I'm always going to answer my email, I eat the same things every single day, pretty much, unless I'm going out for dinner, allows me to just like keep things running in order because of like the sort of like the madness that goes on in my mind. So something once I learned that if I had these systems in place, like everything seemed to fall into place. It's something that like I keep saying, like success begets success. Once it works, if it's working, like I'm gonna stick with it. Like and once I get into something, I'm very into something. And that's really it. So I don't know if that is organization, but like there's very little variables in my day. Like very little variables. I wake up the same time every day. I eat the same thing every day. So I think that that's part of it also, just setting up, systems for yourself.
I feel like that's such an interesting thing. And when you talk to, or the books that I read and podcasts that I listen to, I hear that come up a lot, where people just put these systems in place and just kind of do it every single day. Like eat the same things, like you're saying, like wake up at the same time every day and eat the same things. And I find that like so interesting. And I wonder if that's how you find more time in your day. Like they
Yeah.
say, time is the currency of productivity. And it's like we all have the same 24 hours in the day. But you can look at somebody and see what they do and be like, how do you have the same amount of hours? Like I just can't do
That's
that.
100% true. Like the amount of decisions I need to make in this business every day is unbelievable. Or even like as a mother, right? Like for my children, there are a lot, and we
Yeah.
all have a ton of decisions we have to make every day. So if I can take some
Hmm.
things out of the equation, and it's not even the food, like even like the way I dress, like if I find something that I like and it fits me, I will buy it in every single color. Like a head of HR is when it made me notice it. She's like, Rose, you do realize that you wear a black tights, black boots, a short, like a pleated mini skirt and a turtleneck or a black shirt every single day in the winter. I'm like, yes, I do. Right. Because like, that's how I manage time, because like I don't think about what I have to wear. I don't think what I have to eat. I don't think about what my workout is. I don't think about a lot of things I don't have to think about because I have so many other things to think about. So I do think that is a key to the success. And like also
So
like,
is
and
that
when you
like a
find that it
slow
works, it
progression?
works. Yes. And I
Right.
always think all of it
Was
is
that like a
progression.
slow progression? Okay.
It totally was a slow
So it wasn't
progression.
something you like just started decided to do and like got up and started doing that all one at one time. Like you started slowly realizing that that gave you more time during the day if you started cutting down on those, I guess, superfluous decisions that, really didn't make a difference in your day.
Exactly. Like I even hear, I know it sounds so stupid, but I hear in the bullpen outside the office, people start talking about what they're going to eat for lunch, like 11, and they talk about it for an hour. Like I eat the exact same thing for lunch. I never think about having for lunch. I just saved like an hour might be a lot, but even saving 20 minutes when you have so much going on, you have 1,000 emails, like that 20 minutes matters to me. And like I do a lot, because you follow me, I do a lot during the day, and I'd like to accomplish a lot during the day. So, like I said, taking out, you know, like extra decisions I don't need to make that are like not that important, those are great because like it doesn't really matter what I eat. And I'm like very happy to eat the same thing every day and I don't have to worry about that.
I think that when you say people are like talking about what they're eating every day, like that's a procrastination because you don't really care about the subject of what you're eating for an hour. Like you don't want to discuss that for an hour, but it's like
Okay.
it happens to be like a way that people I feel like procrastinate because like I see myself doing that and I have a problem with procrastination. I'm just like
Right.
I'm one of those people that and I almost like tell myself, well, I do that because I'm so good under pressure. Like I do that because I'm so good on, if I have a deadline, like I know if I'm right up against that deadline, like I'm gonna get it done. And I do, but I always wonder, could it be so much better if I wasn't procrastinating, if I wasn't waiting till the last minute, to do it? And I think, when people take so much time to make a decision on something that doesn't really matter. It's about procrastination.
Yeah, and like it's I mean, I think it's really true, but it's just amazing as you meet other entrepreneurs like you are, like everybody's mind just works so differently. And also it's just like self-reflection, like knowing how you work, right? Like sometimes I tell myself, like, Rosie, it's like a little over the top, like it's like a little over the top, like, and maybe a little bit like obsessive compulsive of like doing the same thing every day. Like maybe like chill out or don't do this, like maybe like don't do the same thing every day, but it gives me comfort, right? To be able to like do the same thing every day. And I know I can function better when like I know that this works for me. So it's not something I have to stress about when there's so many other things to stress about. So like every entrepreneur's like mind works differently. I'm like not a late night person. Like I don't I mean, PPR, like you're almost always on deadline. So I guess I do, but like I can never leave things to last minute. Even when I was in college, I guess over time, like I know my brain works better in the morning. I'm a morning person. My older brother is a late night person. Like he gets rocking and rolling at midnight on a project. So I took classes at night. Not because like my brain worked better at night, but classes don't matter. It's the schoolwork that matter. Just reading the textbook and doing doing the assignment. I knew my brain works better in the morning. So I take night classes, but you barely have to listen. But if I had to do the work, I wanted to do it in the morning when I knew my brain was fresher. So like everybody works differently. But once you figure out what works for you, um, I think it becomes easy to be disciplined because like it makes your life easier. So yeah, I just think like that's just how I work.
Was there can you remember, like, a time that you had to change something because you realized that? Like, I feel like y I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. Like, you really have to figure out what works best for you. Was there a time that you remember realizing, like, "Oh, this actually doesn't work for me, so I have to figure out a way to do it better?"
I mean, yeah, trying to like run this company by myself, like um no, I'm not really sure, but I think you made the good point about it. It's more like, it's all about a progression. Like, and this is what I say about a lot about the fitness stuff and the diet stuff. Like, I feel like people try to do too much at once, right? Like, people go on like crash diets or like, I'm desperate to lose like 10 pounds in a month, but like and people who say that, like, they're not long term, they don't keep that discipline, right? So it's like like, none of this has ever been, like, extreme. It's like over time, like, you just keep learning, you keep adding, you keep, evolving, and then you become, like, the person that you are. Like, even on my fitness journey, I used to be a runner, I used to, like, eat clean or all these things. Then when I found out something that worked, I didn't know why it worked. I had, like, a trainer tell me to do something, right? Followed it, it worked. Then I started being like, well, why is this working? Like, how can maybe I don't want to eat the same thing every day. What can I do? So, so that like I have a little more like flexibility or wherever it is. So I started learning about it, started adding things in or like adding, the process together. And over time, this has become a lifestyle, right? I don't, like I said, and now I don't think about my diet because over time I added different, facets. I started bodybuilding or whatever, like weight training. I started eating more protein. I stopped doing this. I stopped running as much, right? And then just like it's just evolution over time.
Got it. Let's talk about your fitness routine. Like, I know a lot because I follow you, but tell me, what is your routine? How many days a week do you work out? What kind of workouts do you do? What's included in your diet?
Yeah. So everything, I say eat the same thing every day. Everything is included in my diet. So I'll just say the story, like most women, right? Wasn't always content with the way I looked. I had 4 children in 5 years, so but definitely took a toll on the body. Nursing and just being pregnant for so many years in a row, and just not
Yeah.
sleeping. And so I started like doing what because the science has come a long way. When I was, used to be just you went on the treadmill and you cut out carbs and that's how you lost weight. But I always like saw like the women in the fitness magazines with these like toned bodies. And I never had that look. And then so I think I'd had my fourth daughter and I started following like some of these, and Instagram is becoming a really hot thing back then. I started following some of these influencers, started to add a little more, resistance training or burpees or things to my workouts. And I started seeing changes and that stopped working. And then my brother, who's also an entrepreneur and we're very close, he's really like transformed his body and he was getting like jacked, ripped, like all these muscles. Like, oh my God, what are you doing? You look amazing. I feel like I'm eating healthy, but I don't, look how I want to look. And he introduced me to his trainer, who's like to the virtual training, who got me into really lifting weights. Like I'd never done a squat in my life, a deadlift, a glute bridge, like real bodybuilding type exercise. I didn't know it was called bodybuilding back then, but I'm pretty good at following a
Mhm.
program. You tell me to do something, I'll do it. So I followed exactly what he told me to do. And I started eating oatmeal and rice and bread and all the and my body started changing. I was like, wait, so I don't need to run 6 miles a day and only eat salmon and salad. Like, this is great. And I did and I started living that lifestyle. And it was a by the way, as someone who eats the same thing every day, like I actually eat the exact same thing. I'm not kidding. Like I say, I guess the discipline. I think actually I will say, I should take a step back. I think the discipline for every other part of my life came from the fitness. Now that I think about it, you're like, was there a moment where all of a sudden you just realized
Oh,
you were
okay.
disciplined?
That's
And
interesting.
and actually, when I think about it, I have
Yeah.
talked about this a lot. So the first half an hour of this show, you should totally disregard. This all came from the fitness, actually. Now that I think about it, honestly. So I like it started working. Like I started seeing the changes in my body that I'd always wanted to see by eating cod, almonds, like the exact same thing every single day for probably a year to 18 months. I'm not kidding. Like I did not veer off plan. Once in a while I'd have a glass of wine, because I like to have a cocktail. But aside from that, I eat I ate exactly what he told me to eat. And sometimes it was not a lot of food and I was hungry, but I was loving what I was seeing. So that discipline, I think, is really what translated to every other part. I was like, okay, well, if I follow a plan and I'm disciplined, it works. So I think I have to say, like, I really think fitness is what helped me. And I always say my business started taking off when I started feeling amazing about my body and how I looked because, like, I had confidence and I walked into a room, right? I knew that discipline was helping me in many ways. And the business started taking off when I started feeling good. And so I do credit a lot of the success of this company to my commitment to fitness. Anyway, so I started with this trainer, started bodybuilding, ate his diet for a year and a half, and then I just started following other people. And he was very strict. And I would say, I don't like cod. He's like, well, just broil it and put the hot sauce on. I'm like, well, I want to be able to eat food that I like. So I started like learning about macronutrients, which is like, so when I started doing the math, so I'm eating 150 grams of carb and 130 grams of protein and 50 grams of fat. Can I play around with that and not eat cod and oatmeal every day? And then it just started becoming a lifestyle. I started learning more. And then today I work out, I lift weights 5 to 6 days a week. I don't run anymore unless I'm training for a marathon. And that's more like of an endurance of a challenge thing. It's not about, the way it doesn't make me look good. I really only walk and I lift weights. And the walk is a great stress release for me in the morning. It's where I clear my minds in the morning. It's where I think in the morning. So I walk 7 days a week, no matter the weather. And I weight train 5 days a week. And I eat, I eat the same things every day, but I have a very flexible diet. So like if I know I'm going out for Italian tonight, and I have like numbers that I try to hit every day. So eat a little less today. So tonight I can have, eggplant parm and pasta and it all fits in the diet. And that's also trusting process. Like I know that if I eat my macros and I do my workouts, my body will respond the way it needs to respond. So I feel like a lot less stressed out when I go out to eat because I know that I've got a process in place. And that's like, and I used to stress about, I'm like, well, if I eat this, will I get fat? Will I gain weight tomorrow? I don't have that stress anymore because I have the discipline of following my macros and it gives me flexibility. And also, like I said, it de-stresses me and it clears my mind. It's something I don't need to think about. I have a coach who thinks about it for me. So I guess some of the key takeaways is, this success begets success and helps you stay disciplined and taking decisions out or letting other people help you with decisions helps you, gives you more space in your mind to do well at your job or be good as a parent because there's a lot of things you don't need to think about because they're thought about for you.
I that's really amazing, and, the fact that you're saying that your fitness kind of helps with everything else, I think is so interesting, and I think it's gonna be interesting for other people to hear because usually the first thing that goes out the window is the fitness. Usually the first thing when you're trying to juggle, family and you're trying to start a business or you're working really hard at your career, I feel like the first thing that goes out the window is, your workouts or,
Yeah. Or
you're
your
eating out
food.
of convenience
Right.
because your food, because you're just like, okay, I don't have time to think about it and plan for it. And I'm just going to, I'm going to grab something and I'm going to grab whatever, whatever's easy. And then I know for me, that's when I am the worst, and,
Right.
and what you're saying is you really need to take that discipline throughout all facets of your life. And once you do, it works. They help each other. basically.
Right. And I also say, and I say this a lot, like on my fitness page, is like when you start the day, two things, doing something like that's good for you or that is hard, it sets you up for success the rest of the
Hmm.
day. So if you have a hard worker in the morning, you're like, I accomplished something. I did something really hard. So like I can do this. I can do this day because I already did something that good for myself or did something hard. So everything else is like, well, what's the next thing I have to do today? So a lot of it is like, and yes, I love the physical results. I love that I can wear the clothing that I want to wear. But a lot of it is like the mental part of it, that mental toughness, or like, or saying like yesterday morning, like I got up at 4:15 to work out. I don't wake up as early as I used to, but I had a conference and I know that I know my best self when I get my workout done. So I got up at 4:15. I was in the gym by 5 because I wanted to get my hair blown out at 7 before the 8 o'clock conference. So like I said, I think fitness, like people think about it like as a vanity thing or whatever it is. But for me, yes, it's a vanity thing, but a lot of it is just like what fitness teaches you. Or and even like when I did this bodybuilding competition, like it was a challenge, right? Like I didn't have to do this. Like I didn't care if I won or I placed. It was like, can I challenge myself to do something that is like it's an extreme sport? Like it was really hard. Like my brain stopped working at the end, which also makes me realize that food is fuel, right? And how important food is to your life.
Hmm.
And it was just like it just taught me something. It's like I can do really, really hard things. So like when the business is like not having, a great year, like, okay, like it's really hard, but I know I can handle hard things. So I think there's a lot that people don't realize about fitness that can really like transform your life in every part of your life.
I definitely agree with that, and I think when you said that you're your best self when you do something hard in the morning, I recently started doing that too, and I don't get up at 4:15 or 4:30, but I really I enjoy playing pickleball. It's just like something that I
It's so
really
fun.
like, and so I started it's so much fun, right? It's like
So much
not my
fun.
workout, but it's fun.
It's a good
And
workout.
so I started playing with women at 7 a.m. so that I know I'm going to get up at, 6 or 6:30, have my coffee. I'm going to go play pickleball for an hour. And then right after that, I get my workout in. And then I come home, have something to eat. And then I can start my day before 9 o'clock feeling accomplished and feeling that I
Accomplished.
did
Right.
something. And yeah. And when I started doing it, I felt like I'm not going to continue to do this. Like it sucks to get up at 6, when I don't really have to. But I enjoy it and I love it. And what I love more and what I think I'm addicted to the most is the feeling of I did that. It's done.
Exactly.
It's 8 o'clock and I'm done for the day, with all of that. So I think that that's something that people should think about, like the feeling that you get. And like you said, it's not all about like the vanity, which is great. I mean, hey, everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to always lose weight or, be more fit or be more toned. But I think when you think about the feeling that it gives you, it's almost, more important. And so
Totally like that.
I
Yeah,
agree
I'm
with you. I
addicted to
think
that
it's great.
feeling more than I am about that. Yeah, exactly. So I would say like it took me a long time to get on this in the podcast, but I will say it like the discipline for every it came from the fitness and like who would have thought, right?
Right. And um, were you like an athlete or anything when you were younger? Did you play sports? Like, were you always kind of physically
I
fit?
I I played sports. I was not very. I played on the basketball team. I played JV varsity. I was not very good. I was like the worst on the team, but I liked playing. I liked the social part of it. I liked being active, and I've also something that I learned about myself is like I'm actually just not very coordinated. Like I'm not very good at pickleball. I'm not very good at tennis, and it's funny. Like the type of activities I do are all solo things. Like you don't need. I run by myself. I live by myself. My husband like would
Mhm.
love for a date for us to like lift and do stuff together, but it's like like it's my alone time. But no, I was not like I mean, I was an athlete because I played sports in high school, but like not very good. And I ran because I thought that would help me control my weights, and a little bit it did, but like nothing changed the way I looked or the way that I approach. And I didn't like it. I don't like running. Even though I run every time I ran the marathon twice. The first time I said never again. The second time I was like, nobody let me do this again. I hate this shit, But yeah, so I did it. But yeah, I really got into it once I found something I like. This is what I tell people all the time. They'll ask me like, "What diet should I do? What workout should I do?" And it's all about consistency. Like, do what if
Mhm.
you do something that like that you found that you love pickleball. So like Yeah, it sucks getting up early. Like I love getting up early, just what works best for me, right? Once you find something you like and you can stick to it, you can consistent. And that's the same thing with the career too. It's like, you might think about this time, like the cannabis industry this year is not having a great year, right? But I'm super passionate about the industry. I'm super passionate about what I built here. And so when like my business partner, like, well, maybe we should like, at least for the time being, like look at some other industries, even like when I came from food and restaurants, I used to love like, I'm not excited about it. Right. I don't want to, I have to do things because like we need revenue, so I have to do things, I have fiduciary
Right.
responsibility to my company. But like once I find something that I like, I go all in on it, right? So that's the same thing about working out or anything you do. Like when you find something you're passionate about, it becomes much easier. And of course, I'm fortunate to be able to like do the things I want to do. It's not always that easy, right? Not everybody has the opportunity to find something they love, but once you do, it becomes a lot easier to do the hard things where it's like, it sucks to have to do this, but I'm so passionate about it that it doesn't suck.
Totally. Totally. I want to ask you, how do you feel about the word willpower? Because I feel like a lot of people use that term like, oh, I have the willpower, or I don't. And I know that some people believe it's kind of like a very limited term, like it limits you. I'm just interested in, do you use that word? Okay.
So
Okay. Great.
willpower, discipline, potato. Okay. So I do believe that willpower and discipline like are real things. I really do. But like everybody, and again, like it's also like a privilege thing. I would say it's like, okay, I can choose to like, how do I say this? Like everybody has the same amount of hours in the day. Like I'm sort of tough love in this way. I do believe
Hmm.
everybody has the same amount of hours during the day, right? So like it's a choice when like to not honor your commitments to yourself, right? And I know like I have a very unique situation. My husband is home with the kids, right? So like I can get up at 6 in the morning because he takes the kids to school. So like it's a little rich for me to say things like this, but like today we had lunch in the office. Like I know I'm going out for dinner. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. So we did a great Mexican lunch today for the team. We're so excited about it. And everyone's drinking margaritas. But like I know, and everything looks super delicious, but I know I'm going out for dinner tonight and I have to make a choice. So I chose willpower and I ate the chicken taco and I didn't have like the fried and enchiladas, right? So
Right.
so for me, I do think willpower and discipline are a choice. I know it's very polarizing. But like I said, like I'm nothing special. Like I said, like I wasn't a great student. Like I'm not naturally thin. Like I work for everything that I have. So I can go on and on with this, but I believe that willpower and discipline are a choice.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I remember I think you posted, I know you posted something on your Instagram once that said like discipline is choosing what you want now
Yeah.
over or what you
What
want
you want
most.
most
And I like
versus what you want now. That's exactly right.
what you want most, right, versus what you want most.
And
And
by the way, it's
I
not easy.
I felt that and like, no, it's not.
It's
It's
not
not.
easy. Like it sucks. I don't like I want to do everything. I want to eat everything. Like I want to go to every event. Like I want to, like it's and it's hard. Like it's very hard to like make those choices. But like I know my future self will thank me. Like even like this, like do I don't need to lose weight, but like I'm speaking at a conference next week and I have a great outfit plans. I know that like the 1 or 2 pounds difference like won't make a difference, but mentally I know that like I told myself that I was gonna be pretty disciplined for the next week going into that conference. And meant it, and I know myself, like I will not forgive myself if I don't do the things I say I'm gonna do. Like the guilt isn't worth it to me. Like how will I like even the other night I was like, have a drink with me. I said, no, I'm not drinking this week, right? I'm not drinking this week. So I almost have it like, Rosie, how are you gonna feel tomorrow at 6 a.m.? Not I was gonna be hungover because I would never drink so much that I would never drink. I knew that not that I wasn't gonna drink so much that I was hungover.
Right.
But I knew the next morning I would have said to myself, dude, like you didn't need that drink. Why did you do it? Right. So
Right.
discipline and willpower, all for it. Not easy.
I think it's great. I think it's great. And I mean this in like the best possible way, but I think it's great that you still struggle with that all after
Every
doing this for so many years. And like,
yeah.
so I love that like the struggle doesn't go away. And I think, that's great because I think people that are listening are like, oh, it's so hard. And, I think it has to be
It
hard. Like
remains hard.
you
It
have to know
remains
that
hard.
it's hard, but it's remains hard. It stays
It
hard.
remains ours.
Um, the other thing I wanted to talk you I know you said you brought up alcohol really, and I know that you like gave it up for like a little bit, and I'm in that process right now. And what can you tell me about that? How did that go for you? Did
Right.
it make a difference in your physical health? Like,
Yes.
what can you tell me?
I will say, like, it's hard, right? Because I know that, like, I looked better, I felt better, I my moods were better. Um, there's so many benefits to giving up alcohol, but I just like having a cocktail, like, so I drink a
Yeah.
whole lot less than I used to, like, and I go through phases where like, and I only really drink like once a week, I would say, or twice a week, when I'm not out socializing. But I felt very proud of myself because it is like I usually have a Friday non-negotiable martini. Like I freaking love it. I look forward to a week, and I gave it up for like 2 months, and like I could do it again. And like I would say, there's so many benefits, and like I'm not that I don't have willpower on everything, right? Like I know my mind is better for me. It's just like one of the things that I am not willing to totally give up yet. But I will say it was great. How is it working for you? Like, do you feel better? Are you waking up feeling better? Like, and for the weight, and by the way, for the weight loss, it's amazing because that's where I struggle. Like, if I have a couple drinks, like I will take a handful of chocolate covered almonds, right? So part of like the discipline of the weight, like I know I can't drink so much because when I do, like I'll eat like crap. So that's also part of it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is kind of a health thing, and I have to say, like, something kind of switched in me, and I don't know if it was like it's like as I'm getting older or something, but I don't feel great anymore if I drink, and
Yeah.
I don't mean if I like get like wasted on Friday like that, like nobody feels good after that.
Right.
I mean, like if I have a couple drinks, if I have a couple glasses of wine, and the
Right, your
next
sleep
day
gets
I'm not
disrupted,
like hungover
it
where I
it
have
it
to
can be
stay
a
in
lot.
bed, but I am like, yeah, it really kind of changes my next day and just how I
Totally.
feel. And I just started really hating how I felt. So I am not saying I'm like not gonna drink because I love my wine and I love a good martini every once in a while, but I'm giving it up for now, and I'm gonna see what happens. It's been a month
It's
almost,
great.
and I'm like starting to see some benefits, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And listen, the
I don't
research
know if
is
that's
there.
gonna be
Like, no
forever.
no amount of alcohol is really good for you. The research shows you, and also, and when I did it, like there were, and the nice thing is, like, I'll pump cannabis a little bit. Most of like a lot of my colleagues don't drink. They choose like marijuana, they choose cannabis because the different form factors. You don't necessarily just smoke a joint. There are drinks, there are edibles, all those things. And also it's like, and in my circles, like drinking sort of like looked down upon. It's like you're weak type of thing. So I actually felt like a real sense of pride when I was going to be like, no, I don't drink right now. And that was something I told myself. I thought this might be a lifelong thing for me, just because, like I said, when I get into something, I get into something. And I was like, how cool would it be if I could probably be like, no, I don't drink. I don't drink. I got over that right away. Like,
Yeah.
but there is something to be said about the discipline it takes, like, especially in social setting. It's not easy to be the only one at the dinner table. Like, if you're getting a good steak and that wine looks amazing, it's like not easy to say no to it. So, that's something interesting too. But yeah, that's great for you. Amazing. I'm glad you're feeling, good because there's so many health benefits. Like it's
Thank
poison.
you.
Poison. It's delicious
Yeah,
though.
and that's what I keep telling myself, and it is delicious, and there's such a social aspect to it, but I have been using cannabis instead too, because there's drinks that you can, use, and I
Right.
just feel if I'm in a social setting or at a party or something, there's almost like that, people look at you like, "Why are you not drinking? Like, what's
Right.
wrong?" Or you know what I mean?
Right.
Like something's wrong, and like it shouldn't be that way, but like that's just how society is.
Yeah.
So, you kind of almost feel like you have to, and there is something, I guess, easier about just kind of feeling like you're holding a cocktail and just like, being a little bit more relaxed, which is why, there are a few cannabis products that I really like in
Yeah.
those situations.
For sure.
So,
Actually, it's funny you mentioned it's
um,
like I see these memes where it's like, what's like a weird thing that's like socially acceptable, but like not. It's like that like you tell people that you're, like not drinking, they're like, what's wrong with you? Like nothing's wrong. I just want to have
yeah.
a drink. Like what? Like nothing's wrong.
It's like yeah, they say it's something like alcohol is the only drug that people think there's something wrong with you when you're not doing it.
That's exactly right.
That they keep
That's the
saying
one.
that, and I'm
That's
like,
exactly right.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So funny. Okay, I want to switch course a little bit, and I want to talk about personal and then this is all personal. I mean,
Right.
this is all personal discipline, but did you, you're obviously a disciplined person and you have to be, to do what you do every day. Did you grow up in a household where you had really disciplined parents, or like discipline was like really highly valued?
No. Which is why
Okay.
probably I've gone so far the other way, like my parents, like, and I'm very close to my parents, like they were like not strict. Like they would be like, as long as you try it on that test, we don't care. But like we never tried. We never asked us if we try. But meanwhile, my husband comes from a very disciplined family, and we are our
Okay.
children are very disciplined. Like they're little soldiers, and I love this about them. We are very loving parents, and they have like so much love, and and my husband stayed on dad, like they absolutely adore him, like he's God to them. But he's like their parent, like he's the main parent
I
at home
love
because
it.
he's a stay at home dad. Like the homework, like that homework is perfect. Like review, 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 review. Like Saturday mornings, I don't clean the house. The girls mop the floors. They clean the kitchens. Like they are little soldiers, and
Wow.
we couple it with like so much love and all that. So it's not like a crazy place to live. But the one thing I'm most proud of is I wish I had this. I wish I had this earlier in life. I would say, right? Like I wish I had. Like I would have done better at school. I would have had a better social life. I would have felt better about myself earlier on if I had the discipline that I have now. So I do feel like, sometimes, we push it a little too far, but I do love that we're raising very disciplined children, and we expect a lot from them. We expect a lot from them.
That's That's amazing, and that was my next question. Like, you have 4 girls, so how would is that something that you're bringing into your household, or are you leading by example? And it sounds like both.
And it's
But I
both. It's
think,
both.
even seeing you, yeah, it's both. I mean, I'm sure that they are seeing, things that you and your husband have accomplished in life, and the life that they have, and, you have to realize that you don't have that without discipline. But I also think, I see things that you post about your daughters, and they seem to be really talented and, individuals. Like, they're young. How old are they? What are the ages?
I have 4 daughters. They're 14, 13, 11, and 9. So they're getting a little older, but yes, it's very different than we grew up. Like how many activities did you do after school? Did you maybe play soccer? You maybe played
Right.
on the team. Now
Right.
they have a lot of interests, and I think I work so my daughters can take French lessons. That's really honestly what it comes down to. Like they do a lot of things. And but also that's teaching them like the time management stuff too, and like having a full plate and managing it and managing your emotions and stress and all that. Like they're choosing to do things, and if they want to do it, I'll let them do it. But you're not missing that tennis lesson if you want to take tennis, right? So we hold them to like a pretty high standard.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's great. And I think we all kind of take lessons from the things that we either did or didn't have, when we were growing up. And yeah, it is crazy now. There's so many things that are available to kids. And I feel like there's a lot of kids out there that are like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try this. And I just, I love seeing what your daughters are doing. And I know one of them has a really beautiful voice and
Yes.
is, doing plays and things like that. And it's just like so fun. And I think that learning discipline that early in their lives, obviously is going to help
A-
them
and I also
in the
think
long run.
part of it is discipline, but also it goes to this thing about like finding your passion, right? And like getting confidence in things that you're good at. So like my older daughter, who's like the singer and actress and dancer, she's like very beautiful, very talented. I know her mother, but like it's true, But she struggles in
Absolutely, it
school.
is.
She struggles with her mental health, right? So like there's nothing that I won't do so that she can't have this, like, so she's going to be in the band if she wants to be in the band. I don't care what it costs me. If she wants to do the play, she's going to do it because I know that she gets so much joy and confidence from that, and that helps her, compensates for when she's struggling at school or having trouble socially. Like she has that thing that
Hmm.
makes her happy and gives her confidence. I would never take that away from her. That's why I think it's also really important. It's not necessarily because like they're all so over programmed. It's finding those things that like is their creative outlet or something that makes them happy to offset, school's much harder than it was when we were growing up too. Like the standards are higher, the math is harder. I can't help them with their math homework at this point. So that's part of it too, like letting them find their passion because like we're tough on them. So like let them have something that they really love to do and that they can hone their skills on and like get confidence from.
Totally. I saw something the other day that said if you have a child who is getting a C in math but is excelling in tennis, don't hire a math tutor, hire a tennis coach.
That's exactly
And
right.
I was like, that is just so different than how I grew up.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
totally.
always bad at math. I was horrible. I hated it. I cried. I was just like, and still to this day, like I mean, you can ask my husband, he makes fun of me all the time. Like I am horrible at math. But it was something that my parents were like, "Oh, you're so bad at, like, you have to get better. You have to, you have to try
Right.
harder." And, I think that there's a shift in that, which is really great now,
Yeah. By the way, I'm
with
also
kids. So,
people who are not good at math go into the creative fields that we do. Like I still, you think your husband makes fun of you? I send my husband my spreadsheets and be like, "Can you add up this column for me?" He's like, "You can't add an Excel sheet and you have 50 employees." He's like, "Do not let them know what a train wreck you are." Okay.
that is hilarious.
So
Okay, I
I
don't want
help.
to take up a huge amount of your time, but I do want to let's just do some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
And then I will let you get out of here because I know your day is busy. Okay, when you were a preteen or teenager, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A fashion designer.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
What was the last what was the last book you read?
Um, the with the Ryan Holiday book, The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh, The Disciplines. Oh, okay.
Uh,
There's one that I'm reading by him right now. The
Yeah,
Principles of Discipline or something
yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. Yeah, I just read The Obstacle is the Way, and it was great. And like
Okay,
I
yeah,
believe a
he's
lot of
great.
that,
He's
and I
great.
love his Daily Stoic. I love him. I love him, Ryan Holiday. So that was the last book I read.
Yeah, he is so great. He's so great. So you're still working on like discipline and things like that even now. So I love that.
You know what? Like I need
I
to be
think that that's
reminded
great.
I need to be reminded sometimes. Like I need like the strength of other people to be like, keep doing this, right? Like it helps me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What is your dream travel vacation or best place you've ever been?
So, I mean, but I love travel. Like it's funny when I was growing up, like that's how my parents like they used to travel. Like that's how they chose to like spend any extra money they had was traveling. I didn't get it, but now that like I am an adult, like I totally get it. So the dream trip that I have in my mind right now that I'm trying to plan actually with my best friend is I really want to do the Amalfi Coast. They've never done it. So like I want to do Capri, I want to do Sardinia and all that. So like that's my dream vacation. Actually, I love pasta. I love the beach. I love shopping, so Italy is it for me. I've been to Italy, but I've never done like the beach, the coastal town. So that's really on my bucket list.
Well, do that. Positano is one of my favorite places, probably my favorite place in the world that I've ever been. So
I
definitely
bet.
do that. Plan that trip and do it. What's the best professional advice you've ever either gotten or given?
I think surround yourself with like people with different skill sets, right? And also like keep think about the next logical step. And this is like something that I fall victim to. Like I like to catastrophize things. Like I think like 12 steps ahead on things and be like, well, what if this happens? And like my business partner be like, well, Rosie, let's figure out what's like happening tomorrow. Right. So like that's like one thing that
Hmm.
they would work on. It's like you don't such an entrepreneurship, like it just there's so many ups and downs. So next logical step is really like, and I think about that in a lot of facets of my life. Like, what's the next thing to do? Don't think like 12 steps ahead, but it's something I work on.
Yeah, that's great. That's actually really great advice. And I feel like you inspire obviously so many people, including me. So I want to know who inspires you in your life.
Oh my gosh, a lot of people inspire me. I would say actually, my mother inspires me. So my mom was an entrepreneur herself. I didn't think about it growing up. My mother worked; she had her own company, but she also managed to be like an incredibly loving mother. Always had dinner on the table. So and I'm not around a lot, so I travel a lot. So my mother really inspires me because she really was one who encompassed like doing it all. So I would say that. And also
That's
one more
amazing.
thing,
I love that.
I'll also say like the other women entrepreneurs, and this has been like one of like the most rewarding parts about starting a business. Like I among my friend group, like I'm still probably one of the only women who like owns her own company. Some people, have like, great jobs, whatever it is. So I have an amazing network of women entrepreneurs that I met through this industry. And everybody has like a different like role. Some are like VC, some are CEOs, and just like having this network of like other women who are trying to like do the thing and like break that, glass ceiling. Like they inspire me every day. And we have like a group chat and this also, and I'll turn that into like a tip for entrepreneurs, like surround yourself with like other entrepreneurs or like-minded people because they'll understand the struggles you're going to. They can give you advice. They can be a sounding board, right? So, like surround yourself with like a great network. And as a woman, I like thinking of being a network of other women because like it is a somewhat of a different experience. So like that's a tip. And then the other women in my network really inspire me.
That's so true. And I think as women, a lot of times, we have friends that we went to high school with, or we have friends from college, or, friends from jobs. But I think it is really important when, regardless of what you do for a living, but, when you're a professional or a business owner, to just have someone that understands what you're going through. And I think you said it perfectly because when you don't, I feel like it could be a very kind of lonely place to be.
Very.
And you kind of like need somebody that understands what you're going through and just like, to bounce ideas off of, or not even, just somebody to kind of understand like, oh, I know what you're doing. Like you
Right.
said at
This
the
is like
beginning,
this
oh,
is
you're starting a
hard.
podcast. Like
Yeah.
I know what you're going through. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And, that just kind of was like, oh, yeah, it kind of is,
Yeah.
And you're not going to really say those types of things to, your neighbor or your high school friend,
Right.
because it's just not the kind of
It's a
conversations
different
that are ever going to
experience. It's
happen.
just a different experience. So yeah, and like it like gives me strength, right? And as an entrepreneur, like you need
Yes.
the strength of others because like it is a very lonely place sometimes. Like, most of like my friends like are not worrying about meeting payroll and things like that, right? So I just think it's really
Right.
important to like have a support system, whether it be your spouse, or work people. Like it's so crucial. Like I couldn't do without them, I would say.
100%. And I think in a small way, that's what I kind of want this podcast to be is, I want women to listen to it and to get something out of it and to feel like, okay, I'm not alone. Or so, if somebody is listening to this and struggling with like self-discipline and, and hearing, your stories and your tips and, what I'm going through, like, I just want them to be like, okay, you know what? I'm not alone. Other people are
Right.
going through that too. So
Totally.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. And honestly, I have like so many other things subject wise that I would love to talk to you about. So I hope you'll consider coming
Of
back
course.
at some point and talking to me again. Because this was so fun and it was just such a great time like catching up with you.
Yeah, it was great. It was
So
so much
thank you
fun.
so
And
much for doing this.
wishing you so much luck because it's great. And I listen as on my walks in the morning, I like to listen to podcasts. So I can't wait for I don't want to listen, I want to hear whatever everybody else has to say. And I can't wait for these to launch. So I'm really pumped for you. So yeah, and definitely I'll definitely come back. So thanks for having me.